and welcome to the Dewey Decibel System, the official podcast of the Buchanan District Library in Buchanan, Michigan. I'm Meg Paulette Perez. I'm the director of the library and one of your hosts, along with library superstars Karen Gonzalez and Grant Wagner. Hey, Karen. Hey, Grant.
Hi.
Here we are back again, episode 5. I feel like I'm starting to actually enjoy this and not just be nervous about it. I don't know about you guys. What do you think?
I love it.
I do too.
Oh, good.
It's always weird at first, but then it gets cool.
Yeah, we'll shake off the nerves in the next few minutes, but yeah. So in case you're joining us for the first time, here's how the show works. Karen, Grant, and myself all work here at the library, and on each episode we get together to talk about books, movies, TV shows, music, video games, or pretty much anything we want to, but we have to have checked out the thing we're talking about with our Buchanan library card. Lucky for us, you can get almost anything with your library card because your card doesn't just let you check out stuff that's here at our library. You can also get things from libraries all over the state through interlibrary loan, aka Melcat. You can check out digital books, music, movies, and more on Libby and Hoopla, and you can use your card at other libraries nearby that Buchanan cardholders have reciprocal borrowing privileges at. Also, each month we have a different special guest join our conversation. And this month's special guest is none other than the owner of Buchanan's new bookstore, Carla Mayer. People have been so excited about this bookstore called Glendora Books since before it even opened, and we are no exception to that. It's very cool to have a bookstore in Buchanan. So before we get to all that, we're going to have another library staff member stop by and tell us about something that maybe you didn't know we had here at the library. So stick around. We'll be right back with that. Okay, we're back, and we've got Library of Things coordinator Wendy Chapman with us. Hey, Wendy.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Oh, pretty good.
I'm here. I'm waking up.
It's early, the beginning of our week, but we're here. Last time, we have had you on the podcast before, but last time you were here, you told us all about the Library of Things. But this time, you're here to tell us about something else that you're in charge of here at the library.
Absolutely. I am so thrilled that we are in our second year of having a seed library here. And being as seeds are not a normal library thing, it came under my umbrella to work on this project. And it's born out of a desperate need, particularly in our community. I don't know if you guys know, but food insecurity in this country is extremely high. In the state of Michigan, we're actually above the national average.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that here.
Yes. And in Berrien County, we are sitting around 13.8%. National average is only 11.7%. So what better way than to be able to, as a library, offer this service, provide seeds to families for free, and also provide the programming to support teaching those skills that families can grow their own food.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So tell us, if somebody wants to use the seed library, how does that work?
It's super easy. On top of the seeds being free, we don't require a library card. So that means you could live in a surrounding community, happen to pop into Buchanan for the day, pop in the library. You fill out a very, very quick, easy little form, which we're basically just using for our data for, tracking usage of the library and whatnot to justify the need. It's just a one-page little form. From there, every time you visit our library, once per day, basically, you can go through the seed library cabinet, pick out 5 packages of seeds to take home with you, and plant them at will.
Yeah. Very cool. So this was, like you said, it's our second year. So it has been closed for a little while, but it's about to open again, right?
It is about to open. I can personally say we almost have 1,100 packages of seeds ready to go this year.
Nice.
I anticipate that now that the word is out, that it's going to be much more popular this year.
Mm. Cool. So what are we doing for the opening? I know last year was the grand opening. I keep saying grand opening, but now it can't be grand opening. It's just opening this year. So what's going on for that?
So it's our annual opening. We have Jerome Veit from Veit Greenhouses coming. He's going to give us basically a talk about garden planning, basically all the tips and tricks to get you started, especially for those beginners. And then he's also going to stay on hand to answer questions from those who maybe are a little bit more expert level. Definitely not me. I'm not there yet.
I think at the library, though, you're definitely expert level. Like, there's not a lot of green thumbs in this library, unfortunately.
I do try. I do try. So, yeah, so Vite Greenhouses has been very generous to come and do this program for us. We also have members of the Michiana Herb Society who will be joining us. They'll have an informational booth, and these ladies know their stuff.
They really do.
They really do. And then Houdon Farms is going to be a new addition to the opening event. They actually have a U-Pick herb farm here in the area. They've only been around since 2019, and they provide all of the herb plants for the Fernwood Herb Garden.
Oh, cool.
And they are also going to start providing all of our herb seeds for the library.
Sweet.
So
Cool.
So many herbs, things I've never heard of. So
awesome.
In addition to that, we have additional programming. Like I said, we want to make sure people know, what are you going to do with these seeds? As people kind of develop those skills, it's not just about food. Maybe it's about making their home look more beautiful. Maybe they want flowers, things like that. We have a local author coming in to talk to us in April about Shakespeare Gardens, which was something I had never heard of. And then we are bringing Bevan Cohen back with the Buchanan Area Senior Center to do an herbal tea program in May.
Yeah.
So look for those programs. We're also going to dip our toes in the water of native plants a little bit heavier this year. And the idea is to basically educate people about sowing those seeds in the winter, which was something.
Yeah, you were telling me this the other day. I was fascinated. I was like, wait a second.
There's a whole thing about it, and it's far more easy to do it basically after the first frost than it is to do it in the spring. So native plant lovers, I love you. We've got you, but you're going to have to wait till November.
Yeah, I'm excited that we're going to have Bevan back, too. So Bevan Cohen we had in September for a seed saving workshop. He's just a really fun guy. I actually learned how to save seeds. I have cucumber seeds at home that I'm going to plant, and we're just, fingers crossed something is going to happen. That was really cool. So, and that is at Buchanan Area Senior Center, but it's for all ages. They really want to encourage kind of an intergenerational sort of thing. So that one should be a lot of fun.
And that one you get to go home with an herbal tea mix that you're going to make. So there's a little bit of a make and take for that. And I think that's all I've got.
All right. Well, I really hope that people will come by and take advantage of the seed library and we'll make Buchanan a little bit greener this summer.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
Welcome back. And before we get into discussing our picks for this month's podcast, we have to meet our special guest, Carla Mayer. Hey, Carla.
Hi, Meg. Hi, Karen. Hi, Grant. Oh, my God. I'm nervous.
Get
What's
the nerves
wrong
out
with
right
me?
now.
Okay.
Get the nerves out now.
Okay.
Yeah, this always happens with guests, but by the end, we're all going to be best friends. I promise you. Before we dive into the podcast, we want you to just tell us all about you and what's happening down the street at Glendora Bookshop.
Well, thanks for having me so much. So Glendora Bookshop opened in a rush for the holiday season. So we were open all of December. We closed in January to get our act a little more together, and we reopened February 1st, and we're open for the long haul now. We're going to have a grand opening at the end of April 27th.
Fun.
It corresponds with Independent Bookstore Day, so we're going to kick off a whole lot of things then. I got the idea to open the bookstore a couple years ago. Actually, a friend of mine put the, kind of bug in my ear. And at first I was like, I can't have a bookstore, no. But then I couldn't quit thinking about it. And I looked around at a lot of places. I live in the township, so I really wanted to be in Buchanan. I didn't want to, go farther afield, even though some people suggested that. After a number of sort of starts and stops, the place down the street at 110 East Front Street opened up seemed to me pretty abruptly, and that that was in August, and I tried to act quickly, and I was able to secure the rental, and hustled to get open time for right after November, or right after Thanksgiving, where hopefully soon, full service bookstore. There's still some things that we're working on in terms of book groups and a calendar of readings and events and loyalty programs and things like that, which aren't quite up and running, but by the end of April, those things will be set up and ready to roll. It's really general interest. So there's fiction, there's nonfiction, there's different kinds of genre fiction, there's graphic novels, there's children's books, there's wellness books, there's a lot of history and sociology, gardening, cooking, all kinds of things. And we're trying to be as responsive as we can. So, hopefully, it's already started, but over the next several months and years, hopefully, we want to hear from Buchanan residents about what they're looking for. We'll kind of shrink or expand sections depending on demand. There's some areas where already I'm like, oh, we need more shelf space for this. There's some other sections where so far I'm not sure anybody's bought any books out of those sections.
We have places in the library like that too.
I bet libraries are very similar
and it's always
that way.
like, oh, this is so cool, everyone's going to love it. No.
Yeah. But along those lines too, really surprisingly, things that I sort of thought were really cool or are near and dear to my heart that I was a little like, I don't know who else is going to come looking for this. Kind of thought like maybe this book's going to live with me here for several years before it finds a home. Like those books are leaving too, and it really has been very wonderful to kind of understand or get to know my neighbors in a way that like, that's your interest? Oh my God, that's what you're into? Oh my God, that's my favorite story or whatever. And I really feel like everybody's going to grow together, and I'm really excited about it.
That is something cool about bookstores and libraries. We all get to kind of bond over books, which is just the best way. The best way to do things. Okay, so if you guys are ready, I think we're going to jump into talking about all of our picks. We've got some really interesting ones today. I think we always do, but this first one is going to be Grant's, and I was thrilled when he picked this. So do you want me to play your clip first to introduce it? All right, so here's what we're going to be talking about with Mr. Grant.
T-minus 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
From the creator of the Mighty Ducks.
Are you ready for the best summer of your life?
Yeah! Comes Heavyweights.
Chipmunk, download!
Yes! This is definitely not sanitary.
A story about the true meaning of summer.
Party!
Kicking back. Pigging out.
Who wants to tell us the lesson we learned?
Don't put Twinkies on your pizza.
And getting down.
Check this out.
I think she's looking at me. Do you know what the bathroom is?
Until
everyone having fun.
The new owner turned it into a nightmare.
Lunch has been canceled today due to lack of hustle.
Oh my God. There isn't a gummy bear left in this entire camp.
We gotta do something about this.
Tomorrow morning, everyone will join me on a 20-mile hike.
I have a plan.
But now they're taking over.
You can't kidnap the owner of a camp.
And taking back their summer. From Walt Disney Home Video comes the movie the New York Newsday calls hilarious, filled with non-stop laughs. Heavyweights.
Can anybody hear me?
All right, so we're all sitting here stifling our giggles, trying not to be. So that is Heavyweights, the 1995 film, and Grant's going to tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so the film I picked was Heavyweights. It's a 90s comedy. It's kind of like a comedy coming-of-age movie. The first time I've ever watched it was actually, I think it was in summer. I was on a road trip somewhere. And it's one of those, like, free Disney Plus, free download ones.
Oh, it is? Okay.
So I watched it. And this movie takes place at Camp Hope. And it's actually a really funny movie. So it's about this kid who goes to fat camp. And
that's what they call it in the movie, by
yeah.
the way. Grant's not taking
Don't
any
cancel
liberties
me,
with the term fat camp.
But this camp used to be really fun. They had the blob, which if you don't know what that is, it's a big balloon thing in the water. One person sits on the end, another jumps down. You catapult someone into the air. Don't know if it's very safe, but
looks like a blast.
Yeah,
it looks so fun.
I would absolutely do this at least once.
Yeah, but and then as the trailer said, Tony Perkins comes in.
I'm sorry, I'm going to correct you because I've seen this movie 1,000 times. It's Tony Perkis.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Who is played by Ben Stiller.
Yep.
Who is a great portrayal of it. He does a great job. He comes in. I think he's a Nepo baby, maybe. Like, I think his dad owned something.
Yeah, his dad was the lighting king or something.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think Lighting King. And then he comes in and he turns it into this super fitness place where it's like lunch has been canceled. And he just he makes it not fun, and he makes it kind of like just
a real fat camp.
Yeah, he makes it not good for people.
Really body shaming.
Yeah, and he's making them. He's hurting them more than helping them.
Yeah.
And so that's one part, but then they kidnap him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the climax of the movie.
Yeah, they take the power back.
Yeah, and there's a dance, and that's an interesting scene.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a really good movie. How did you guys feel about it?
I love this movie, but Karen, you can go first.
Well, first, this movie was made a year after I was born, and I decided to watch this with my daughter.
You're younger than I thought, even.
Really?
Yes.
No. So I watched this with my daughter, and the first thing, because we watched it, and of course, the image isn't HD. So she's like, Mom, what are you watching? And I'm like, dude, don't start with this. And so she's like, this looks really a boring movie. And then she's just literally criticizing everything, and I'm like, thanks, you're really showing my age here, Miss Lucky, everything's in HD. And so then she sits down and we're watching it. She's like, wait, this is actually funny. So we start really getting into it. And then when Ben Stiller came, oh man, we were just cracking up. We were just like, this dude, he took it too serious. And then everything's all about basically his pockets commercial.
Yeah.
That's not good for my video. I don't know. And then me and my daughter started acting like him afterwards.
Oh, you were Percocizing?
Yeah. so then I told her, because I was after I made dinner, and I was like, no dinner for you. And she was just like,
due to lack of hustle.
Yeah, so it was a pretty fun movie. At first I was just like, oh no, what am I watching? And then my daughter, we were just kind of wait, what? And then it just got so funny. We were just like, this is really funny. I like this. It's a cute. It reminds you of the 90s aesthetic. It was really kind of I don't know, just really chill and relaxed, but had its funny moments, because we don't get movies like this anymore.
No, we don't. They don't just make little movies like this anymore.
Yeah, this was just really cool and funny. And then I don't know what word they said, but this is what had me really. My daughter's seen the Taco Bell. Do you guys remember?
The logo looks really different.
And
weird.
she's like, Mom, why does Taco Bell look like that? And I was like, oh my goodness, that's when Taco Bell was awesome. And then you just get to see all these old buildings, and I'm like, oh, that was so awesome. So that was kind of cool, but just, I don't know. I really loved the movie, though. It was funny for me.
Yeah. What about you, Carla?
I really like this movie. I had never seen it before, which I'm surprised about, because I feel like there's a whole kind of genre, with the younger kids and having adventures. It reminded me of The Sandlot. You know, other things like that I watched a lot with my kids a while ago. But I'd never seen it, and I really liked it. It was hilarious. Yeah. And also, there are these sweet pieces of it that were so nice, right? Where Jerry, right, is his name. He's writing to his grandma. You know, you never, you don't even know that his grandmother is an important figure in his life, but then he's writing, and for the listeners out there, Tony Perkis stashes away the complaining letters of the
Right, he
campers
does.
to. I don't think that's a spoiler, but or and then the there's one camper who's been there forever and now works at the camp, Pat, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And over time he really comes into his own, and there's a whole building of confidence, not just for the kids, but for Pat. And I don't know, not that I'm not all in on the comedy,
No.
but I think that's what makes this movie kind of really special is that, there are these other really human pieces to it that sort of flesh it out. And, I'm really happy, thank you, Grant, for bringing my attention to this, because somehow I'd missed it entirely. And I guess the other thing I want to say in terms of Ben Stiller is I just feel like this is so, he's really got this down, it made me think
Over
about,
the
because
top,
I've seen Dodgeball 1,000 times.
I just
and
watched
so-
Dodgeball this weekend because of this. I was like, I have to see it because apparently it's Tony Perkis too, which I don't necessarily agree
you hadn't
with.
seen Dodgeball?
I'd never seen Dodgeball,
Okay,
so yeah.
So
But anyway.
that, and Anyway, so thanks. I had a ball watching this, and I guess the other thing is sometimes this is tells you more about me than anything. I don't want to be doing this, but sometimes my phone's nearby. I'm looking at a movie. I'm looking at TV, and I'm checking. Whatever.
Yeah.
I was glued to this movie. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you on the serious side of it too, and I think that it kind of elevates the comedy too.
Right,
Like when you have a
exactly.
movie without any substance, then it's fine and everything. But that's what makes this movie really special. The scene that stuck out to me is when Pat and Jerry are talking on the dock. I think it's right before Tony Perkis gets kidnapped or whatever, because I think Pat kind of gives Jerry a little bit of a pep talk, and that's what encourages him to take matters into his own
And it
hands.
sort of serves it for his own pep talk too.
Right. Yeah, they're both kind of building each other up in this really cool way. So yeah, it's really great. So did you guys know that this is the first film written by Judd Apatow that was actually made into a movie? If you guys don't know who he is, he went on to do movies like 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, Trainwreck. He produced some of these. Some of them he wrote. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Bridesmaids, Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. So he's a big comedy guy in these really adult comedies, which is why it's kind of funny that his first movie was a Disney movie. But I think that's also why it was just so funny because he's just a comedy gold mine.
If you think of the other movies, they are kind of like that. They're just very funny and just
very goofy and over the top.
Yeah. So it goes with him. I love it.
Yeah. Also, the guy who plays, I'm going to forget. There's one camp counselor, maybe you guys can remind me, who got skinny, and then all the kids make fun of him because he got skinny, which was, what was that guy's name?
I don't know, but I know who you're talking about.
And then he does the dance, he does the really over the top dance,
Right.
I'm saving the dance, and then he just starts grooving really embarrassingly. But anyway, that guy, his actual name, I can't think of the character's name, but his name is Paul Feig, and he was the creator of Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, right.
So, and Judd Apatow worked on that as well. So this is actually where they met. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen Freaks and Geeks, but it's
I love Freaks and Geeks.
it's an
That's
excellent
a good origin
TV show.
story right there.
So I was really excited to learn that was, something that went together. We haven't mentioned who might be my favorite character in this movie yet. Anybody for Lars? Lars, everybody.
Lars. Clapping up for Lars.
Exactly. 3 cheers for. So Lars, my favorite line from him is, he's introducing himself to the chipmunks in the chipmunk bunk, and he's like, when I have a severely deviated septum. When I sleep, I make a very alarming noise. Or no, he says, do not be alarmed. I am fine. So he's this really over the top, I don't know, German or Austrian, whatever. But the
Hard
thing
to know.
Yeah. So but I like about Lars too is he starts off as a bad guy, but by the end he's on their side.
Yeah.
They kind of coerce him into being on his, but then he's dressed as Andy Warhol, during the relay race at the end, and they have to do a smart, intelligence portion. And anyway, I love Lars, and my daughter, who I watched this with, just fell on the floor laughing every time Lars was on the screen.
Can we just say how your voice effects are awesome? Because every time you do voices, I'm over here trying not to laugh too
my
much.
Pauly Shore was not very good. Like listening to it, I was like, oh, that was embarrassing. But yeah, my Lars isn't too bad.
That's all I could. I was just like, go Meg.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just think this is an awesome movie. I had actually never watched it either back when I was a kid. My husband introduced this to me, and I was kind of looking at him sideways, like, you want us to watch like a Disney movie, like that's what you want to pick as the movie that we're going to watch tonight. But he was absolutely right. So yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was funny. The thing that cracked me up is that they just the guy was like, oh, I brought like, what, 5? He's like 5 Oreos. He hit him. And then they were just like, oh, 5 Oreos.
Yeah.
And then they just started
ripping the cabin
right.
apart.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, kids are sneaky. Like, taking the bed apart and putting things down. I'm like,
the bedpost, how they had things
like,
hidden in there.
Kids are smart.
Yeah.
It really made me want to go back to camp. Like, I went to a couple summer camps that were, I don't know, they weren't like, there was no Tony Perkis or anything, but, it had that feel, like you kind of remember what it was like to be in the cabin and have your friends.
And like you're on your own and you have to like, how's this going to work for all of us?
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's part of the growing up process. Like maybe it doesn't happen as much with kids now, but I feel like that was our first, like, okay, we're gonna be on our own. Yeah.
You know what I just thought about too? I thought it was so cute how everyone, like in the beginning of the movie, when like the original owners were like, "Hey," and everyone's like giving them respect, and I was like, I didn't see that coming. And then when they announced that, they sold the camp and they were all sad, I was like, oh, that was, that broke me. I was like, don't sell the camp, like don't do that.
That was a very quick way to get it, like to show us how invested these guys were in their camp.
Yeah, because that camp, like, and what cracked me up, I like looked at all of them. I'm like, and you guys took it for granted. Well, the first kid, because when he's seen the video, he's like, what kind of camp is this?
Right,
and you're just like,
and
you're just like, and then now you're like, okay, this is cool, because like he says, I want to try that little
the blob.
Yes, that looks so awesome.
Quick fun fact about the Bushkins. So they were played by Ben Stiller's actual parents. So yeah,
He's just like bam.
Though Tony Perkis Sr. is also played by Ben Stiller, which I'm sure you guys could tell. Like right at the end, that, like his father comes in. Oh my gosh, there's several lines that I feel like I want to make sure. Like, okay, do you guys know the part where Ben Stiller's like goes on a run, and then? Okay, so my favorite line of the whole movie is, and I think I heard it was ad-libbed, he just picks up a log. Do you guys remember when he does this?
Yeah.
And he goes,
it over.
"Come on, you devil log." And just puts it over his head and just runs away. I lose it every time. I cannot handle that line at all. Anybody else have any favorites?
I don't know, but I do remember that like vividly. I was just like, this dude.
I love the scene where they're just like slipping and sliding on. I'm trying to remember, like, what they were on, but they were on some sort of exercise thing in the yard.
Those were a thing back in the day.
Right?
Yeah,
I don't know
what they were called, but yeah, it was, you kind of like did
you look
sort
a
of
little like you're speed skating,
like a back and forth. So, but the thing that was unfair about that is like all the instructors were on this flat platform, but the kids were all on like a hill, so of course they were going to fall over. Like it was so mean. But yeah, Lars has a good one there. He goes, "I'm feeling skinny, Tony." Sorry, I have this movie memorized.
You do.
I don't know, but if I ever need to lose weight, I'm gonna take a picture. Like print him off and just put it over my fridge. No lunch for you.
I bought my husband a T-shirt that it's a Tony Perkis T-shirt.
Love it.
Yeah, they make everything now, but
they do.
All right. Well, we obviously love heavyweights and could probably talk about it for the entire time, but for the sake of time, we're gonna. Unless it was, did we leave anything hanging? Heavyweights? Anything else you wanted to say? All right.
No. I feel like there's now I'm not going to remember her name. The nurse.
Oh yeah, she's so cute.
Yeah, and just I feel like this might be kind of a constant through some of these maybe Judd Apatow movies or this type where. Even in Dodgeball, right? Like where the awful guy is like assumes that he's going to be able to woo the sweet, cute,
the attractive girl.
Like,
yeah,
and often like maybe the only girl.
Yeah.
and that she's from the beginning, just like, ew.
No.
And, pretty from the beginning. Also, she's, understands that Pat's a pretty good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I did really appreciate the love story with Pat.
Yeah.
And he seems so shocked.
Yeah. What's her name?
Oh, what is her?
Leah?
Why do I want to say Jackie?
Julie.
Okay.
The actor's name is Leah.
Okay.
Leah Lale.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was very nice that they did that too. Agreed. So many reasons to watch Heavyweights. Go out and watch it, and you can check it out right here at the library.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is a book Karen has brought for us to talk about. So Karen, why don't you tell us about your pick this time?
So this time I picked To Infinity and Beyond by, I'm going to butcher it, guys. You already know.
You can do it, Karen.
Neil deGrasse?
Yeah.
Okay. I always say DeGrasse. I don't know why Tyson.
It looks like, yeah.
So I picked him because honestly, I've seen this book on our new display for the nonfiction, fiction area for like ever, and I really am into the stars. I'm like a space nerd. I'm the biggest space nerd, and so I'm like, oh, let me just pick this one, something different. And so I chose this, and it's basically a a book about, of course, the universe, but it's kind of like a slow introduction to it. So like if you're not really into the stars and stuff, it kind of slowly goes into it for you. That way you can understand. The one thing I also loved, it had pictures in it. So
many pictures.
Yes, and I love it. Yes, but it's educational, so that way you don't feel bad. Yeah. You're just like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, so that's kind of why I picked it. It's just really, just different, because I don't think we've talked really a lot of nonfictions, but I just really love the stars and stuff, so that's why I chose this one. So this one, basically, it's the journey just begins close to home. This is what it's about. It's exploring Earth's atmosphere, the nature of sunlight, and missions past and present to nearby planets. They also talk about like the exoplanets, the black holes, the nebulas, and the galaxies. And basically, it just talks about like the universe. I can't really put it out there. So like I really did like it, because there were some things that I didn't know, and I don't know, it was just kind of like interesting to know other things that I didn't really know about the universe. So I don't know, I'm kind of like everywhere right now.
Well, I mean, I think it's partly because the book is that way. Like it's not even it doesn't just read straight through. Like there's all these little kind of like side notes, and it'll sort of stop and like tell you about another thing. So yeah it is a little bit just all over the place, but in a cool way. Like I understand your struggle to sum it up.
I'm like, but yeah, that's kind of, so I have like ADHD, and that's kind of why I like the book too, because that's the way my mind works. It's like, oh, a little side note here, a little side note there, and that's why it really caught on to me. I was like, okay, I like it. But yeah, like it's just like I said, it's literally everywhere, and I'm just like, I don't know what to save. It's just so much like information being dumped at me.
Yeah, for sure. What do you guys think?
I was really happy to have this be the pick. I always want to be reading nonfiction. Megan and I had a little chat about this when I came to pick it up at the library. I am always eager to pick up nonfiction books and read them, and I pick them up and I read some, and then I, for whatever reason, don't keep going. Not because it's not amazing, not because it's not fascinating, just I think my mind works in the way that, like, for fiction rather. Yeah. And so I also really appreciated the, small bits when you needed to just sort of like get a little information, and, sort of it's organized by chapter so that you can sort of dig in. But again, even those chapters sort of really, it's the universe. Yeah. It's very like broad reaching, and kind of drills down over time in terms of like getting, even more specific. It was kind of an interesting balance between like really general, and then at some points I'm like, oh, we're really like in astrophysics now. Yeah. And I'm like, these are details. Maybe I as a lay person don't have to really I
can let that wash over me.
I can let me wash over me, exactly.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated digging into this, and just even in the beginning chapters, which is what I'm thinking about right now, kind of the explanation about how kind of global warming works and greenhouse effect, and I don't know, just like even that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Really, things are getting heated by the earth, not by the sun so much. And anyway, so appreciated this as a suggested read.
Grant, didn't you tell me you were going to listen to it on Hoopla? Did you end up doing that? Yeah.
And then I also found the pictures online.
Okay.
Which I really loved those pictures. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, mine too.
All those pictures were so cool.
Yeah. What was the audiobook like, though? Was it?
It was just...
Was it read by him or no? Because I think we were talking about that.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember if it was Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Or do you not know?
No, I had such a hectic weekend.
Okay.
I think so. Well, there were multiple versions.
Okay.
So the one I read, I believe it was by him.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the other ones were. But it was a really good one.
Yeah. So, we have the physical book here, and then the audiobook and the ebook are on Hoopla. So I was kind of flipping through the...
Libby.
And Libby, yeah. And so I was flipping through the ebook version since Carla had the... I was trying to remind myself some of this stuff. So, yeah, it's in a lot of different versions. So I think the print one is the nicest to look through.
The
like
photos,
it just
illustrations and everything.
Yeah, the
so
illustrations are in the ebook one too, but it's just a little bit more awkward. It's really beautifully laid out. Some of the illustrations, I don't know if it's going to be in the book right, but on page 49 of the ebook, there's this one of this dude Felix Baumgartner. I'm sorry, I'm not. But anyway, this happened back in 2012. I just kind of remember this. He did this just jump from the edge of space. Do you guys remember this at all, or from the book? So there's this crazy photo of him like in a spacesuit, like standing on a platform, and you can see, blackness of space and like the curvature of the earth. And this whole thing was like sponsored by Red Bull. Like it's this crazy thing. And he like jumped he did like a skydive from like higher than anybody has ever done it before.
I think I remember that on TV.
Yeah, it happened back in 2012.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I remember that.
Yeah,
the Red Bull. Huh.
So it was cool because it's like I think the chapter was trying to talk about, oh, there we go. Thank you, Carla. Yeah. It's a really neat photo. So I think the chapter was talking about like, okay, where is the edge of space?
Exactly.
And like, that's not really such an easy answer or easy question to answer. But it's like illustrations like that and stories like that really kind of bring the whole thing to life rather than just kind of like explaining these dry numbers to you. So I think that this book just does a really, really good job of that. One other thing I liked about it is how it was always taking down like science fiction movies for being completely inaccurate, which I love science fiction books and movies and all of that. But like, the movie Armageddon, where like Bruce Willis has to go and like, drill into an asteroid and drop a nuke in it. And it's like really, Steven Tyler's like screaming like, but apparently, that's just completely inaccurate. Like, it would be so easy to deflect an asteroid. They actually, do you guys remember, this just happened maybe a couple years ago. There was something called the DART mission. So that was, I wrote it down, Double Asteroid Redirection Test. And basically they just slammed a spacecraft about the size of a car into an asteroid just to see if they could change its trajectory.
I think I remember that.
Just a little bit. Because and they were like, oh, yep, that's it. It's not going to hit Earth anymore. That one wasn't actually going to hit Earth, but like if this was actually going to happen to us, as long as we knew about it early enough,
right? Kind of a prevention test, right?
Yeah, it
like
wouldn't
if
actually.
Something's going to threaten.
It wouldn't make a very good movie.
Neil deGrasse Tyson takes things too literal.
What do you mean? Like he's an astrophysicist,
right? Yeah, I think that's the way his mind works.
I think we realize sci-fi movies aren't realistic.
True.
Like,
not everybody does.
No,
though.
that's maybe an issue.
Yeah,
yeah. But like Star Wars, that's fake.
Yeah, like all the sounds in space.
Yeah,
like
I feel like if you asked him about Star Wars, he just goes on tangents. Yeah. Anything I've listened to about him, he would be like, well, actually, there's this part of it, and then there's this.
I think if I was as smart as Neil deGrasse Tyson, I would correct people all the time, too.
Though I also think of him as being, like, for the masses. Like, I think he can have a lightness about him.
Yeah, he can.
That I don't know if you went to the university and found the astrophysicists.
Right.
maybe.
They probably wouldn't be as much fun as Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, so don't complain, Grant.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of his personality to be like, by the way, that's wrong. Like the way
Karen actually got to briefly meet Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So I actually worked at another library and we were hosting him. And I didn't really know. I was always like a big Star nerd, but I didn't know who he was. And I was just kind of blank because it was like, I think, an hour or two left from my shift. And so he was supposed to talk about, I think, one of his books at the library there. And so I was actually told, hey, can you escort him to the event room? I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm not thinking about it. And like, so I'm taking him down and he just kind of had like a, like I'm better than everyone, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool, dude. Like, here's the room. Like, I gotta go back.
I don't know who you are.
Because like I don't know what I said. I was like, oh, are you excited? I don't remember what I told him, and he was just kind of like, like you know. And I'm very nice and like bubbly, so I'm just like, oh, okay, like I won't say anything else. So then when I read the book and like about the sci-fi stuff, I was like, oh, that is so like him. He's kind of like, yeah, like this is wrong. Like it just it felt like who he is. So when I read, I was just like, yep, that's him.
Never meet your heroes. That's what they say.
Yeah, just don't. I mean, he was. Don't get me wrong. Like he is really smart. Like when you hear him talk, when you hear like the podcast, anything, he's really, really smart. But just personality, he knows he's smart. So I'm just like, that sucks. But I mean, either way, it was a lot. So I was just like, okay. I'm like, but the thing too, like how I knew that I was not ready to be an astrophysicist at all was all these formulas, and I'm like, oh god, I'm not.
I always think of it this way: it's like I can feel the edge of my intelligence, and then I can tell that like the information is just beyond it, and I'm like, can't get there. Like the time travel-y kind of stuff towards the end of the book. Do you guys remember any of that? I was like, nope.
Right. You're trying to grasp the information and you're just like,
theoretically time can flow in both directions, and I'm like, what? I don't know.
Dumb it down for me. Like, nope, that's where I was having problems too. I was just like, where's my head in this? And but it was still an interesting book.
It's fun to try.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun to try because I was just like, okay, like I know he's really smart, so I'm like, let's see how like I'm able to read this because I'm not the little brightest bulb in the world.
Oh, disagree, Karen.
You're really smart.
So I tried to read this. I was like, nope, no astrophysicist for me. I'm not. That's not for me.
Different people's minds work different ways.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll just love the stars from afar. That's it.
You're an astrophysicist for cars.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
You're a car girl? I didn't know that.
I'll literally be like, oh, this is wrong with my car this week. And she's like,
oh, actually I did. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit because I knew nothing about cars.
Yeah, and she's like,
maybe it's your alternator. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm a tomboy. I don't know. It's me.
And then, pretty cool. Did you mention he has a podcast?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure, or I don't know if it was his own podcast or because he gets featured a lot. And so on my TikToks, he's always on there and he's like, he's kind of like, he just dumps all this knowledge. And then if like, it's like, if you ask kind of like a dumb question, he'll just be like, come on, like really?
I actually have a little clip of the podcast if you guys want to hear it. It's called Star Talk. And so it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I don't know, I listened to some of it or a few episodes I dabbled in, but there's this guy, Chuck Nice, who's his co-host, who I think is sort of like us. He's like the everyman who just doesn't know what's going on.
Ask the question.
Yeah, but here, we can hear a little bit of it.
This is Star Talk. Neil deGrasse Tyson here, your personal astrophysicist. Got with me my co-host, Chuck Nice.
Hey, Neil. What's happening?
All right, I love having you out there, Chuck.
I love being here, man.
For all my Star Talk needs, you're there.
And beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond, my friend.
We're going to knock out another Cosmic Queries, but this one, we have to grab the ones that don't fit any categories. So this is just, I think you coined the term galactic gumbo.
Dude, that's my favorite. We call it grab bag. We'll call it a bunch of different things, but my favorite is galactic gumbo. There down there. You don't know guarantee. They'll put in there a little cayenne pepper.
Spice that up.
That's my little cayenne pepper. Common cayenne pepper. That's what kind of common.
Okay, so that was just a little taste.
I think our podcast is better.
But yeah, so it's very informal, and he and Chuck just kind of talk about these different things, and but I think it's pretty cool. I would encourage you to check it out sometime. So yeah. And definitely come check out To Infinity and Beyond if you just want something really cool to sit on your couch and flip through and
Learn about space.
feel a little smarter, feel a little dumber, all at once, and it's a good thing. Okay, so we're going to go on to my pick now. Grant looks excited about this one, actually. Oh, I'm glad. We liked each other's picks this time, Grant. That's unusual.
Christmas music, no.
Yeah,
Taylor
Christmas
Swift,
music, Taylor
no.
Swift, no. But, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and play for you something to introduce my pick to you guys, and hopefully you recognize it.
A fast car. I wanted to get to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove.
You got a fast car, and I got a plan to get inside of here. Been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far, just across the border and into the city. And you and I can both get a job. Finally see what it means to be living.
Man's got a problem. Here with the bottle, that's the way it is. He says his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. My mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said, somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did.
Got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? We gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live or die this way.
So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast it felt like I was gone. City lights lay out before us. Your arms felt nice right around my shoulder. And belong. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone.
Okay, so that was part of Tracy Chapman's surprise performance at the 2024 Grammy Awards, where she performed this song, Fast Car, alongside Luke Combs, who's a country singer whose cover of this song won Single of the Year and Song of the Year at the Country Music Awards, which makes Tracy Chapman the first black songwriter to win Song of the Year at the CMAs. So I had actually decided to talk about Tracy Chapman a couple of podcasts ago, or I had put it out there, we'd talk about maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, before this all happened, but then it just seemed like, okay, now's the time when I saw this performance. I decided to talk about this because all of her albums are on Hoopla, which is amazing. So even though I had always kind of loved Tracy Chapman, I hadn't taken the time to stop and maybe listen to her entire discography before, but now I can totally do it on Hoopla. But the one I kind of was focusing on here today is her self-titled one, which was released in 1988. So that album is just amazing. It comes right out of the gate with Talking About a Revolution and Fast Car are the first 2 tracks on that album. Even though you could argue those are the 2 strongest songs, there's just a lot of other good stuff on there too. Behind the Wall is this amazing song where it's only her voice and there's no other instrumentation or anything else. There's Mountains of Things and For My Lover, which are kind of a little bit more fun and have this sort of like upbeat sort of thing going on. I wouldn't necessarily say they're fun, but they have kind of like a groove to them that's a little bit different. Baby Can I Hold You is on this album. That was a pretty big one for her too. It actually caused a lawsuit in 2018 when Nicki Minaj sampled from it without her permission for her song Sorry. So that's a little tidbit for you guys. Anyway, I've always had an appreciation for Tracy Chapman. She's got just these beautiful story-driven songs. Her voice is gorgeous. Fast Car is one of those songs that you'll still hear on the radio sometimes, and I will always, always turn it up and sing along, which is rare for a radio song for me. So I did have mixed feelings when I had heard about it, the cover becoming so popular, and I still have not gone and listened to the actual cover or any of that. I know nothing about Luke Combs, to be perfectly honest with you. But when I saw the performance, he really seems to be in awe of Tracy Chapman. He's very sweet in the way he pays attention to her during the performance. Like, he seems to be not trying to overshadow her. Like, his voice is a little bit, just louder and bigger than hers in some ways. And he really seems to try to back off and make sure that she's the focus. So it really kind of changed my mind about the whole thing. He seems genuine in the way that he feels about this song being like a perfect song, I've heard him say. So I can't really sustain any negative feelings. I know some of it's controversial because, it comes to a white man who's doing a cover of a black woman's song, and then it suddenly takes off. But watching them perform together, what I want to believe is that this is just a human moment between musicians and that it sort of transcends these issues, at least for the 5 minutes that the song is happening. So I think the debate and the conversation about it are good, but I also hope that we can just enjoy a rare moment of unity, maybe, and hope that they become less rare. So, okay, I'll stop talking a little bit. But what do you guys think about Tracy Chapman?
I love her. During that performance thing, I was just jamming out. But it was really cool, that specific performance. In the audio, you can hear when people realize it's Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, that's right. The lights come up and everyone just loses their mind.
Yeah, and then she starts singing, and then they remember again, this is, so it's really cool.
It is cool, yeah.
And her self-titled album, I like it a lot because it has a lot of socially conscious lyrics in it. Where are my notes? So her songwriting is known for a lot of socially conscious themes. In tracks like Talking About the Revolution and Behind the Wall, they address social issues like inequality, poverty, and domestic violence, which that's really cool, especially for a singer in that time. Those weren't really topics of discussion as much in songs.
I would say in folk music, it's always been very, it's very much a folk music thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when you hear it and it feels so relevant, and then you realize, oh, that was 1988.
Yeah,
it's kind of amazing.
And that's my next point. She's timeless. The fact that they still play her music.
Yeah.
My first time hearing it wasn't Luke Combs. It was on radios, and that's really cool that a singer who put something out 30 plus years ago is still relevant, and she just has timeless songs.
Yeah, agreed.
And her voice sounded great.
I know, especially a live performance.
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm surprised about that with her, but often artists that are, were big 30 plus years ago, even just the Joni Mitchell, I
was going to mention the Joni Mitchell performance.
She's older.
She's much older, yeah.
But it didn't sound her voice, if anything, sounded stronger and
more
fuller.
Sure of herself,
and that was beautiful as a person who's, about her age. Go.
Woohoo.
Yeah. Well, I'll just keep, since I piped in. I'm old enough to remember when this came out, and Fast Car was ubiquitous.
Do you remember I watched the performance from 1988 at the Grammys too. Did you?
Yeah. much less self-assured.
Right, but I mean, still really cool. But
and felt really different than much different than like the other music at the time, right? And I also wasn't really a big music or radio music person, especially like in my early 20s. But it's still like it was ubiquitous, and it's sort of it's an undeniable song. And just that whole album is really strong.
Yeah.
My personal favorite, I think, is Baby Can I Hold You? Just really simple, but so like, you know, all those songs, they have this sort of veneer of simplicity, but they just, the way they evolve and change, and you sort of have this story revealed as they go on, it's really singular.
Yeah, when you think about how much story you get in Fast Car in such a short amount of time, it's amazing. It's like somebody's entire life in like 4 minutes. Like, it's really, really cool.
And for as many times as I've heard that song, I feel like every time she gets to Had a Feeling That I Belong, like I get kind of tingly and teary like every time that lyric it's like, how does that happen?
Because it's so universal. Everybody knows what that feels like. Everybody. Karen, what do you think of Tracy Chapman?
So I never knew that was her song. Like, first off, because I know who Luke Combs is. I listen to country.
Oh, so you had heard that before you knew? Okay,
before I knew her, because I do listen to country somewhat. I know my daughter makes fun of me, but it's only sometimes.
We don't make fun of anybody on this show, right?
So, so I've heard it from him. So then when you guys, you told me, he made... they did the Grammy thing together, and I was like, wait, what? And because I didn't really watch the Grammys, to be honest.
I didn't either, except for the couple of performances I've had to
you're just like, same thing. So, I did watch the performance, and I agree. Like, I love that he is such a big star, but yet he, shared the limelight with her. Like, that's awesome, because usually people are very self-centered and they just care about themselves. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. And like you said too, like bringing someone from like 1988.
He looked starstruck, honestly. Like he was just looking at her like, I can't even believe this is happening.
He's like, this is awesome. Well, think about it.
Speak
when you're
about meet my hero,
right?
right?
Yeah. And hopefully Tracy Chapman would be a better hero to meet.
Right. Yeah, but that's probably something he's like, well, think about it. He's like a newer kind of country artist, and then to sing with someone that already had like something so old, you're just like, wait, I mean, not old, but you know what I mean. But you're just like, wow, that's like, that's pretty awesome. But for me, because I listened to like revamp it, my mind, I listened to her on my way to work today, and she kind of gives me, I don't know if you guys know, but I know Grant will know. She kind of gave me, what's his name?
Noah Kahn?
No. I can't think of his name. The one that sang in the 50 Shades of Grey song. He did the Super Bowl.
Post Malone?
Not Post Malone.
Usher?
Oh, Usher.
Not Usher.
I didn't watch the Super Bowl either, but...
No. Last year.
The Weeknd.
Yes.
Yeah, The Weeknd. Oh,
that's who I was trying to... She gives me The Weeknd vibes, because The Weeknd kind of sings... very... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I see it.
He sings very, like, I don't know, like soul kind of music, but it's more different. It's different. It's not just like your regular soul. So with her, it was just... because he's a newer artist for us, and so I was like, I compared them a lot, because I was like, oh, you guys kind of have like similar type of style, and like, I don't know, they like kind of storytell with their songs, so I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of like that, because I seen other albums too, and I was like, okay, but yeah, she's like really chill kind of vibes, and then some of her songs were kind of like country, so she was kind of like, I don't know,
she goes all over the place. I mean, there's stuff that feels like country, like folk, like gospel, blues, rock, jazz, like you hear a little bit of everything if you keep on listening. Like it was a different album, but there's like a song called Freedom Now, and it's got like a banjo and a gospel choir, and then there's another one called Born to Fight, and it's got like this jazzy trumpet, but then it's also got like a kind of a country folk feeling, like acoustic guitar in it too. It's like she really mixes things very well.
Some song with a didgeridoo.
Yes, I heard the didgeridoo, and I was like, what is happening? And then that other, I think it's another Australian instrument that sounds kind of twangy. What is that one?
I don't know.
A rain stick?
A rain stick.
Like if you listen to some sort of really like stereotypical like Australia, like if you went and watched Crocodile Dundee, I think you'd hear this instrument, but I don't know what it is.
Like a boinging.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it was used very well, and I can't remember which song, but I heard that too. Yeah.
I don't know. I just liked her because she was just. I really didn't know what I was getting into because you're really into so much different music. I thought you were just like a rocker. Honestly.
No, that's way more recent for me. Like this was what I listened to pretty much exclusively for a long time. Person. I was, folk and jazz.
Gotcha. See,
wow. Yeah.
I feel like I read somewhere about Luke Combs that like this wasn't just like, oh, he appreciated the song. He feels like it's structurally a perfect song, so he's gonna like that as a young person, teenager, that it's people can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said something along the lines of like that song saved my life or something like that. He has a deep emotional long-term connection to it.
He talked about it right before the performance.
Oh, did he? Oh, I didn't see that part.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I feel like I read it somewhere
but
else.
He said it was like a childhood song of his and it's always stuck with him.
I read him talking about hearing it in the car with his dad. Like that his dad had these cassette tapes and one of them was Tracy Chapman and he would like play it all the time. And I like that feeling like it breaks a stereotype a little bit. Like you look at Luke Combs and you don't think like, oh, he and his dad were driving around in a truck listening to Tracy Chapman. Like that's not what you would assume is happening, but it absolutely was. I think that's really cool that we got to remember to check our stereotypes sometimes.
Another thing I read, just to back up with the Nicki Minaj thing,
really?
I don't want to add to the Nicki Minaj pile on, which is happening currently, I think.
Yeah, but, there's a lot of drama there.
But not only did she not get permission, Nicki asked Tracy, like she requested permission and it was denied, and then she still used it.
Nicki,
so that's kind of why there was a lawsuit.
Okay.
Wait, what song did she take?
It's called "Sorry." I haven't heard
from
this.
Tracy.
No, the "Baby Can I Hold You" is the Tracy Chapman song.
And starts out like "Sorry," like there's a whole like.
Okay, I'm gonna have to listen.
Nicki Minaj song "Sorry."
Yeah. So, and Tracy Chapman is kind of famously very private and very, she doesn't really let people, sample her music, like just generally. So not that she was hating on Nicki, she's just like, no, I don't do that.
Not super commercially focused.
Which I want to know the conversation of Luke Combs doing it. Like,
well, the way that I read it was that because he just did a real straight cover of it, he didn't need her permission to do it. And he had been doing it live for years at his live shows, and then he just like put it on an album like, okay, well, this is a song that I do. And then it just blew up again, and he was surprised and she was surprised. And so it's kind of nice to see them on stage, like that it all seemed to work out and that there wasn't any hard feelings.
So does she get like money for his?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she's getting
say, like, this is so confusing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure she's going to get royalties for that as the songwriter.
Okay, gotcha.
Good for her. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed Tracy Chapman. I would definitely encourage you to check out all of her albums. There's you got to at least get to the one where she does. What is the one? Give Me One Reason is another one of her songs that got really popular. And it's not. I think it's on. It's on the one with the sunflower on the front. Whatever that one is. But that's a really, really great song. So you got to at least listen up to Give Me One Reason. But okay, so we're going to move on. We've saved the guest for last, and we have a really cool, weird, creepy thing to talk about. I'm excited about this. So
I am so interested to hear what you all think about my pick.
Okay,
I didn't know.
Go ahead,
I didn't know in what direction to go for this. When you requested, or when you asked me, I was like, I don't know what to pick. I don't know what people want to read. I don't know. And then, we had this discussion about what are we reading now? And I was reading this long book, but I used this phrase like, what did I say? Like sort of a delusional family history or something. And then that put me in the mind of this book. And so we're going to talk today about Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. And it's a pretty short novel, and it kind of crosses, like, sort of hybrid, right? Like, is it literary fiction? Is it a thriller, horror story? Is it a coming-of-age story? And I guess I'll give a short synopsis. The thing that, like, the story opens sort of years after, actually, like a very catastrophic event that happened in this family. And so in a large house that you get this sense of just being kind of grand and, sort of beautifully tricked out, but in disrepair and, a little threadbare. 3 people remain. So there's Mary Catherine or Mary Cat, and Constance, who's Mary Cat's older sister, and Uncle Julian, who is in a wheelchair and is sort of in and out in terms of his kind of cognitive grasp of reality. And the story's told by Mary Catherine, and just from the very beginning, it's very strange. I mean, I think the reason to read this, and the reason I keep coming back to it, is just her voice as a narrator is so odd, and you get her version of things, but then as the reader, you're just always trying to kind of poke through the veil of like, what is really happening here? And how is this whole, how's this family operating? How's this town operating? Many of us know Shirley Jackson from reading The Lottery in high school, and I mentioned this to a friend of mine this past weekend, and she was like, I've never read anything after The Lottery. I just can't even bring myself to think about it. So for those of you not fully traumatized by The Lottery, I really encourage you to take a look at this. But Shirley Jackson tends to write about kind of the sort of conformist tendencies of, I don't know, social group sounds like a fancy way of saying, but of the town, right? So the what's going on here is that these 3 people are really kind of self-isolated in their family home. And once a week, Mary Cat goes into town. She's very rigid about, like, on Tuesdays I go to town, on Wednesdays I go, like, look under where I've hidden things all over the property. On Thursday, Constance and I clean, that kind of thing. But Mary Cat goes into town, and when she goes into town, and that happens quite early in the book, you see how she's responded to by the townspeople, and they're all, on the spectrum of derisive and catcalling and insulting to, standoffish and, like making Mary Cat feel like she's a pariah, and which I think she is. And, And so it's but it's something she's got to do, right? She's got to go to the general store, she's got to go by the post office, that kind of thing. And so the story kind of builds because then an outsider shows up who is a cousin. At some points you're wondering, like, is he really a cousin, or is he really just after something? And he changes Constance's sort of orientation to the family, and this really destabilizes Mary Cat because Mary Cat needs things to be as they are all the time, continually. And then because Charles, the cousin, shows up, things start to get kind of wavy, and Mary Cat has to start plotting, like, how to get rid of Charles, and that sort of precipitates a whole conflagration.
I think it's pretty wild. We might have to just say spoiler alert at some point, because I don't know how to talk about this book without.
And so there's a lot to talk about, and I don't feel like I've given a very sort of linear description of what's gone on. And so, but then when sort of like the dramatic climax happens, then there's this kind of recuperation of this family unit in a different sort of way that also is interesting and also deeply strange.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think?
I mean, I was into it.
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah, we're just gonna have to. Can we just talk spoilers? Spoiler everyone.
Alerts.
If you don't want to know, just go read the book first and then come back and listen.
Yeah, pause now.
Yeah.
It's a short book.
Yeah, it's a very short book, but like the twist. Okay, so the family, the traumatic event that had happened years previous that you just find out through like stories is that most of the family is dead because from a poisoning that happened at dinner. There was arsenic in the berries, right? And they're just dead, except for these 3. They're the only 3 that are left.
I guess I left that whole detail out. Yeah. And Constance was on trial.
Yes, Constance was the older sister went to trial because they thought that she did it. I mean, okay, the big spoiler is that it was actually...
You're going to tell them?
You don't want me to say it? Okay, never mind. I won't say it. It's just hard to talk about the book otherwise.
Go ahead.
But it's like the twist was one that I saw coming, but like was still surprised when it happened, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but I always feel like that's a really good thing that when a storyteller can do that to me, it's like somehow it's like the clues were dropped, and so I'm like, yes, but I'm still kind of like shocked.
Yeah, because there's like some stories where they lead up and you're like, oh, I already know, and then when it is,
but it
you're
didn't
just like,
feel like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know what you mean.
No,
you're just like, oh, what? I was hoping I was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I get what you mean.
Yeah, no, this one was done really well. It is very creepy. I like the way Mary Cat, like, she has this sort of repetitive thing that she does, like in the way she describes things. She feels much younger than 18
She
to me.
does, yes.
Like I had to check, and I was like, wait, she's supposed to be 18? Like she feels, and so maybe that's saying she got kind of stunted, like the 6 years ago or whatever when this event would have occurred. So yeah, I don't know. I was reading up about this last night, and this was Shirley Jackson's last book that she ever published, right?
Oh,
yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else did you learn? I was going to say something else about Mary Cat and the stuntedness, but
no, go ahead. I think that's fine.
I mean, I think it's really interesting. You don't get all your questions answered, right? Because it's unclear, like that event, that family event where most of the family's poisoned. So I think it's a mother, it's the parents, it's the brother, and then it's Uncle Julian's wife.
Right.
And so you're unclear. Like I think Uncle Julian might have had a little bit of berry, so you're sort of unclear.
That's why he's
like
in a wheelchair now.
Is his like sort of mental capacity thing related to the poisoning? You don't know. You think maybe because Mary Cat, they make mention of, not that often, but at some point sort of later, that she was in an orphanage, ill-treated in an orphanage during the trial.
During the trial. Okay.
And so you wonder like how scarred and traumatized was that? But then you get these bits where it's like she might have been a little off, or she was a challenge to her parents well before that 6 years ago. So you just like, you kind of have to fill in some of the blanks, which everybody's probably filling them in differently, but I think is one of the things that's interesting about this. Yeah. And Uncle Julian's always saying that he's going to collect, he's got all his papers collected. He's constantly talking about his papers, and he's going to sort of write the definitive history, not only I think of the poisoning, but of the whole, is Blackwood, right, is the family?
Yes. Yeah.
The Blackwood family. And, so there's that, and then I don't know what else there's to say. Constance is an interesting character because she seems so pure, and so she's always very attentive to Mary Cat's sort of idiosyncrasies, and she's always taking care of Uncle Julian, and she sounds like she's an amazing cook, and she just, within the confines of their property, runs things so benevolently and so skillfully, but like cannot leave the property because she's been so shunned by the town and the folks. And I'm talking too much.
No, it's. I think you get the sense with Constance that she has to distract herself from by just staying, like taking care of everybody, and I think that's that's something that is kind of relatable in a way. I mean, this is a very extreme version, and it's creepy and it's weird, but it's like you can kind of everything's falling apart around me, but I'm just going to go make breakfast.
Very delicious breakfast.
Yeah,
and that's why when Charles shows up, that sort of opens something for her, where it's like maybe there's something else out there for me, and then that door closes.
Right, yeah. Mary Cat is so interesting too, and she has this very magical thinking about, so she's got all these things that she like nails to trees or berries in the yard.
Protection.
Yeah, or magic words. She talks about like, okay, if these 3 magic words never get said, then the bad thing will never happen or something. And I think that's part of what makes her feel a little bit younger, is that she still has that magical thinking that, a child we think of more often having. But it's really interesting, like to have her telling the story in that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting book because, like, how else would you live, like, if the whole village would just hate you? You're just like, I mean, to me, I'm a big introvert, so I would do the same. I'd be like,
cool.
Yep, deuces, I will be in my house, leave me alone. But, like, for people that actually want to go see the outside and stuff, that would, like, and then not even do you have to like heal from your trauma that your family passed away, but now you're getting blamed, and like I would not know how to handle that situation. That's why I'm like, this story was crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like I wouldn't know, like it would, that would be so crazy. Like if and then like you guys said, I don't want to kill the ending either, but like it's just it was just so crazy. That's like I like with me, it's just, I mean, it's a lot to put on a family too, that like like you're accusing them and then shunning them, like how do you, I don't know, like how would you live? Like seriously, because like for me, I would like totally go nuts. Like if you're like, 'cause for me, I have a choice that I like to stay in my little area. Choice, but for them, they didn't really have a choice. So you kind of like, you guys are the one character that you're like, oh yeah, she just makes breakfast. Well, like what else can you do? Like life still kind of rolls, and you have to keep going, kind of thing. And it's just that kind of like opened my eyes, like, oh, that dang, like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
This is going to sound really stupid.
No.
But the plot reminds me of Frozen.
Frozen?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to remember how Frozen was.
Like how they get kind of shunned off. Like Elsa.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
after their parents die.
Oh, because of the ice, her power.
And then she dies, and it's like they're cut off from the world.
Wait, she dies? Spoiler.
Well, no, the parents die. Elsa doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Have you never watched Frozen?
I kind of did. That was on the edge of like when my kid was like getting old enough that she didn't really care anymore. So I sort of stopped watching those movies.
That was 2013. I was 10, 11.
Yeah.
I was watching it.
Anyway.
But it just kind of, in how there's blame, there's, it just kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, there's a sisterly love thing going on, because Mary Cat obviously kind of only cares about Constance. Like, it doesn't seem like she cares about anybody else.
And also it feels like, on the one hand, it feels like she's so young and, childlike, and yes, she can run these errands because Constance unable to leave, the property or the house, but then you get these moments like when the town, spoiler alert again, when the town sort of descends on the house later in the book. She is like absolute protector of Constance, and she sort of like rises to the occasion, and she's going to manage things in ways that indicate some sort of capacity. Yeah. The other thing that's interesting too is just because you're only in Mary Cat's mind, and so you have to really decode, like I said, kind of reality, is their whole family, right? Because they are pretty clearly like the sort of wealthy family in town, and there are these little pieces too where you get, you want to be sympathetic to Mary Cat and Constance, but you kind of also get a sense that like their father might have been a pretty terrible person. Like sort of put up the fence that didn't let anybody through, even though the easy way to get to like the highway and the rest of the world is kind of through their property. And at one point, I think I wanted to try to find, I should have marked it and I didn't, but Mary Cat uses these kinds of turns of phrases like, I think it's because a few people come to visit them. Yeah. And I think it's at this point when she says, like, the good and clean people come to see us or something like that. And it's just like, where do those words come from? And what is class awfulness has happened here? You don't, it's, surely the script has flipped in terms of like they're on the outs. But you just have this sense that part of her oddness has to do with this like legacy of money that might have led to all this twisted what's happening currently, and I think that that's another kind of critique that Shirley Jackson gets involved in, is just like what's driving the people and various individuals and how kind of their orientations and their motivations. I'm not sure. I don't really have a clear thought about that because you all brought your written notes, and
oh, not really.
I'm off the cuff in it here, but I think that's really of interest too. Like, what's the deal with that whole Blackwood family?
Yeah, and maybe even why because a thought comes to mind, like, why would they not just leave? But if they're like the Blackwoods and this is the house that they live in, then maybe that's just so, that it's a different mentality because of that they feel this, I don't know, like they have to keep up appearances, I guess, in a certain way.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't the house passed by generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I would in my head, I'd be like, oh, I can't let the family house down.
Yeah, or the family name.
Yeah.
That's a concern for them, whereas maybe another person would just be like, I'm out of here.
Right, you're like, bye.
Yeah, but also maybe the only place they feel safe because, it doesn't feel like any of them have any experience with, they know the town, but what's outside the town, and that's like Charles comes and sort of is like kind of a city guy and wants to.
He's very concerned about the safe all the time,
and like the efficiencies.
Like he definitely has some ulterior
money and,
motives.
Yeah. I listened to The Haunting of Hill House
when I
had COVID.
Yeah,
it was like the one. I don't listen to audiobooks very much, but I listened to that while I had COVID. And there's something about that house too, with the up on the hill, but like the family with sort of this fancy moneyed history and the awfulness that happens. I think it's to the daughters, and that sort of lives in the house. There's a parallel.
Yeah, no, she's really quite a creepy writer, but like in a very subtle way. She doesn't hit you over the head with it, but you just get this sense of unease when you're reading her stuff.
She's like a psychological kind of thriller.
I was really creeped out by this book.
Say more.
Well, I was dog sitting while I was reading it in this house. It's a small house. It's not in the woods, but it faces towards the woods. And they have this fireplace, and it's like facing windows of the woods. Okay. So it was pitch black. I was reading this fireplace on, and it was just kind of like this essence of reading this. And then there are the pitch black forest.
Yeah.
There's a dog who's just circling around.
Nope.
And I'm just like, I'm going to finish this in the morning. But yeah, I couldn't get into it because
you were creeped out.
I was,
Oh, so you don't usually read creepy stuff?
I'll watch creepy stuff, but like I can't read creepy stuff.
Yeah, I don't usually watch creepy stuff, but I kind of like to read it. Like I always read a Stephen King book in the fall. Like I'm always like, it's time for Stephen King.
Yeah, like I can watch Criminal Minds and stuff, but like this, no.
Well, they made a movie out of this, I discovered. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
No, I watched the trailer. It looks super creepy, and it's got what's his name? Crispin Glover, the guy who plays George McFly in Back to the Future, is Uncle Julian.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't recognize the two gals really.
Yeah, the younger one, the one that plays Mary Cat, is. I'm not going to remember her name.
But it's pretty recent. I
didn't see it though. When I assigned this to us, I had intended to, but then February happened.
Totally fine. I didn't know it existed till last night. So yeah, you can always go check out the movie too if you're in the mood for something creepy. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was made within the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 2018, I think so, or 2019. Yeah. So. Cool. Yeah, I haven't yet read The Haunting of Hill House, but now it's like next on my list of things to read. So thank you very much for giving us a deeper dive into Shirley Jackson.
Thank you.
Such a cool author.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. Before we leave you entirely, I have one more thing. I kind of sprung it on everyone today, so we're going to see how this goes. I want to introduce a new segment that we're going to do to wrap up each episode of the Dewey Decibel System. It was inspired by this wonderful human, so take a listen.
The other day, this grown-up came up to me with a baby strapped to their chest. They started speaking in rapid-fire Spanish, and I'm only just now learning Spanish, so I kept on saying, lo siento, and before I could try to say more, the grown-up switched to English and goes, I don't think you remember me. I used to bring my other kid to your story time in Vallejo. She loves book because of you, because of your story time. She's in school now, but she still loves books so much. Thank you so much. And while that made my entire life so much better, I have to say thank you to that grown-up because it's because of that grown-up that library kid loves books, not because of me. I'm a library card pusher, a book pusher, but it is that grown-up who kept on bringing their kid to the library, who borrowed books with their library card for that kid to fall in love with books with the library. So thank you. It's grown-ups like that, grown-ups, people like you come into the library that create bookworms, library lovers for their entire life. Library people, we offer you resources, we offer you tools, we're a community hub, but we need you. Again, you made my entire life. I'm so happy that my story time had any impact on that kid. I just had fun. I just let them ask questions, tell me their tales, tell me their silly, unhinged things from their life. So I'm so thankful. Keep on coming to the library. You're the ones who are creating bookworms, library lovers. Thank you for what you do for libraries.
Okay, so that was Michael Threets. He's a librarian in Fairfield, California, and he's become known for his viral social media videos that share library joy, as he calls it. So he's like the Mr. Rogers of the library, and he's just so wonderful. I saw a TikTok of this woman who was like discovering him for the first time, and she was just like, hold on, who's this person? He's too bright. And then it like cuts, and she comes back, and she's got sunglasses on. She's like, okay. But that's what this guy is like. He's just a beam of light. He's out there talking about how great libraries are and what a great place it is for everyone. So I thought we could take a page from Michael's book, pun intended, and end each of our episodes with a moment of library joy, telling you something that happened at the library that sparked joy for us or our patrons, and hopefully for those of you listening too. So this can really be anything. So in episodes to come, we're going to try to make sure that we pay attention to have some cool stories. But I saw something on the internet that made me think, and I just thought it was so cool. I wanted to share it with you guys. So, and I know this is true from COVID times, but think about the library and the shelf space that we have here in the library and the number of books that we have. We only have so much shelf space. And basically, I read something the other day that says libraries rely on people to check out books in order to, not have their shelves collapse and have places to put things. And I just thought that was such a neat thing to think about all of the entire community as the library, because we need you to come check out books, keep them in your homes for a while, bring them back, switch, repeat in order to keep the library functioning, because otherwise we could not fit all the books on the shelf, which is absolutely true. During COVID, we had a huge problem with this as books came back but didn't go out. So that was my moment of library joy. I wanted to share with you guys. We're all the library, not just here in this building, but all of you who have materials out there checked out. You're the library too. So, okay. So be thinking about a moment of library joy for the next one. And I want to also tell you, our next episode is going to be a little different. Everyone is going to have the opportunity to be our special guests. All the equipment that we use on the show is actually available to check out from the Library of Things. So on Saturday, March 30th at 11 a.m., you can come and learn how to use all of it and participate in a live show. So we're calling it Intro to Podcasting, and we really hope you'll come down and check it out. So, okay, that's our show for today, guys. Thank you, Carla, so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was very fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to come down and buy a book because, I mean, is there really anything better to spend your money on?
I don't think so.
No.
And people are coming in saying like, oh, this is going to be dangerous.
Exactly. So can't wait. We'll have to come down and visit soon. And thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Dewey Decibel System, the official podcast of the Buchanan District Library. Thanks as well to our special guest, Carla Mayer, for joining us today. Our theme music was written and performed by Miguel Perez, a.k.a. Dogzilla, and this episode was recorded at the Buchanan District Library on February 27th, 2024. You can learn more about the library by visiting buchananlibrary.org or stopping in to see us in downtown Buchanan, Michigan.